And welcome back to the TV show. The triumvirate reunited once more. The big three. I'm Keane Black,
Yay!
joined by Angelo Cataldi and Rhea Hughes. Guys, I'm so happy to be back with you on a momentous week of television. How are you?
Gail is happy you're back too because she had to do the last two shows on Zoom, and I don't know how we ever got them on. I'm thrilled to see you back doing the heavy lifting here, Jay.
I got to tell you, I was so impressed that you guys, it was well written. The descriptions, the episodes were good. I'm feeling good now. If I'm ever like in traction or I'm injured, I know you guys can handle this. No problem. It was excellent.
You still have to do it even in traction. Your mouth still works.
And one thing you should know, Jay, you probably weren't aware of this. Rhea and I have worked together for a really long time. We know how to work together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard you guys had done some work. I didn't know exactly doing what, but I try not to.
Times.
Well, listen, let's jump right into what might be the last Sunday that you could say was like a programming block on HBO. We haven't really talked about Barry. I'm a huge Barry fan, but just this idea that Succession and Barry, weekly shows ending on the same Sunday night in May. This is a throwback to 10, 15 years ago, pre-streaming, pre-Netflix dominating everything, pre-everything being dumped at once. It was a huge night of television. I want to focus specifically on the best show on TV, one that Angelo has come around on. Angelo, what did you think of the finale of Succession?
Succession, 100% landed the ending. They crushed it. It was great. And I got to tell you, that watching this show, picking up in the last season, has given me a new appreciation for that show and for our own Rhea Hughes. Because after it, Rhea, this is amazing. I did not even know this. That Succession is basically the brain product of another English guy. Jesse Armstrong is the showrunner, the writer. Rhea, you know what it is about British TV? They know how to create characters that are vivid and interesting. And these characters, right to the last frame, were fascinating. And the ending was exactly what was necessary for these awful humans.
Here's what I'll do, just in a little aside, since I'm not a Succession fan, but I know the people who are in it. Here's the thing about what British television does. They don't take just the great looking guy, the woman with the big boobs. But I mean, do people want to watch that? Sure. And I get it, but they take great actors, and it's not always sometimes, like I'll tell you, hey, there's a great looking woman on this British show, but they just use great actors. And that's, I think, what it really all comes down to is the acting is so good. And that's what the British kind of, really build their shows on.
So a couple of things. I don't know if you guys saw this. This has a sports connection, so you're going to be pretty impressed by this. Spoiler, if you haven't seen the show, I apologize. We got to talk about what happened in the show, to discuss it. But Tom basically wins is the wrong word, but Tom becomes CEO at the end. Tom's last name is Wamsgans. Okay. Have you seen this, Angelo? Do you know what I'm about to say?
I knew about it because I recognized the name. It was a famous Cubs player many, many years ago.
From the 20s, who's famous for one major event. He is the only person in history to have an unassisted World Series triple play.
Wow.
Cool. So one person takes out three at once. Tom Wamsgans. It was sitting in front of us the whole time. I don't know if this isn't me, a TikToker found it. Forgive me for not knowing the name. I'll try to find it and put it in the notes. But Tom comes out on top, and what might be the coldest hand holding in TV history. I've had some cold handholds in my life, but when Shiv puts her hand on top of
it was great.
I mean, I think you're right, Angelo. It has to be a British person That sort of like, non-sentimental emotional connection between these people.
Icy.
Yeah, right. Icy is a perfect. Here's the thing, all right? I guess I'm relating to this now because it's not all that long ago that we ended our radio show, and I became obsessed with the last show and wanting to end it the right way, because it's hard. There's a lot of pressure on that, and we got to our last show, and we got to the last segment, which is always kind of like emotional and teary and all that, right? And it's one of the proudest things I ever done in 33 years on that show. I began the segment for 3 minutes and verbally assaulted the Eagles defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. And that was 100% by design, because I said to myself when I was planning that show, I got to do what this show is about in the last segment of the last show.
Yes.
And I did that. And watching the end of Succession and remember, I didn't even like the show, right? I'm rooting so hard that they nail it. And I'm thinking, if Kendall becomes the CEO, or if Shiv does, or if Roman does, or any of those guys do, it's not the right ending. They're all awful people. And they didn't deserve it. Tom is bad too, but he wasn't the family.
Right.
And I love the ending because be what you are. That's how it should end.
That is a great statement. And, I think it was, somebody I read said so many shows at the end become sentimental about the characters.
Yes.
The thing about Succession was they're empathetic to the characters, but they're not sentimental about the characters, meaning they didn't give Roman the perfect send-off where he gets little bow, or Shiv gets little bow, or Kendall gets what he wants, doesn't get the CEO, but he gets some understanding of himself. None of that happens. It stayed true to itself to the very end, and I think that point is absolutely the correct one.
And Rhea, I think that's a British thing, right? They're not that sentimental.
They're not. They're sentimental in different ways. They do a lot of stuff with looks and that kind of stuff, but no, they are. I mean, because I watch all British shows. I have a British show and I've reviewed it before, so this isn't, but there's a character. So I won't give the show because I don't want to ruin it if somebody wants to watch it, but it's a show I reviewed. They killed off a character that was so beloved, like in season 5. I couldn't watch it for months.
Wow.
Because I was literally heartbroken that they did this. But they'll kill off anybody if they think it works in the story. They have zero sympathy.
I love that about him. Bravo, Succession. Bravo, Jesse Armstrong. Jay, they nailed it. They crushed it.
They did. And before we move on, if you guys don't mind, I have a special guest here with me. My son is home from school today, and he is the #1 Succession head in this household. He's 15 years old. Come on over, Keane. I said he has 60 seconds because he's been dying to talk about Succession. Hey. That's my boy.
Hi, guys.
Angelo and Rhea. Keane, what do you have to say about Succession? 60 seconds, go.
Okay, wow, I'm not actually here, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together. At first, it had to sit with me for a second because, this was a very important show. I loved it, and it was sad to see it go. But more I thought about it, the more I realized that this was the perfect ending for the show. I thought that, like you said, none of the family was going to win. I felt like that had to be the answer.
Right.
But then I realized any sane human would take this as a win because if you remember, they made like $2 billion.
Yeah, yeah. Walking away with $2 billion is not bad.
And I'm happy for Greg. I'm thinking Greg.
We were all happy that Greg survived. Yeah. He's the best.
That was good.
That was good.
Who's your favorite character?
I think Greg, Roman, or Kendall.
Yeah, Jeremy Strong. We were all in agreement. Yeah. Jeremy Strong. By the way, how great were the impressions that Shiv and Roman did of Kendall, which is them making fun of Jeremy Strong because it's been known that they all find him very annoying on set.
Jay, a quick aside. So Rhea and I had to do all that work, and we had a member of the Black family that could have
Seriously.
What's he doing that for? This young man could do it. He did a great job.
Keane, you know what? I've told my children one of them will inherit the podcast. I don't know which one. I've been playing them against one another where I'll have to see. Eventually, I'm going to sell it to a Finn, I think is what's going to happen. Son, thank you for your insight.
Good job, man. Good job.
This guy loves Succession and TV. Nicely done, buddy. I appreciate it.
I love his hair.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We're getting a haircut today.
No. Please, can I just warn you just real quick?
Yeah.
Clark wanted a haircut on Saturday. He cut off all his curls. I am still crying, and I just am waiting for them to grow back. So please don't cut all his hair off. It looks
We're not going to cut all of it off.
Thank you. Somebody gets it. Tell him to hit.
Yeah, no, we're getting a haircut, Keane. Sorry. I said he has to do some styling. All right, so let's transition because The Ringer, who if you don't check out The Ringer
it's great. It's great. I love it.
Great website. They do a lot of pop culture stuff, and they have been on the Succession bandwagon from day one. And to celebrate the ending of Succession, they did a list of the 40 best finales of the last 23 years since the millennium, because TV really changes in 2000, so they didn't go back to like MASH. Did you guys get a chance to look at the top 5? Did you agree with it? Was there anything that you disagreed with, and what would you have changed?
I'll get this out of the way because I'm sure Angelo has seen every single show that's on the top 10. I went through the top 10. The only show that I actually watched was The Sopranos. That's it. Because I remember I didn't become a TV person really till the pandemic. And I hated the ending, but I read all of them. They had the top 40, right? Wasn't that what they did? I forgot how great Frasier's finale. Frasier was a show I absolutely loved. I think it's an underrated sitcom. I think they had it at like 36. So I think that was way too low. So that's my comment on the Ringers list because I only watched one of the top 10.
I could tie in these endings, and you're right, Rhea. I saw just about all of them. They were right just in their top 20. Arrested Development, great ending. Breaking Bad, phenomenal. Mad Men, terrific. The Shield is the best ending I've ever seen for any TV show.
Great.
But they were 100% wrong about The Sopranos for the very reason what we're talking about with Succession. The Sopranos was awesome at giving people their final justice. And they killed off so many characters during that show. Big ones, from Big Pussy on. And then they got to the biggest one, Tony. In the moment of truth, the screen goes black.
Ridiculous.
No, you killed all the others. We got to see it. One of them, he had the guy's head in a bowling bag. It was great. And you get to that and you pull the last punch. No, Jay, you keep defending that ending.
I got to defend it.
Number one, it's awful.
I got to defend it.
It's terrible, Jay. You're wrong.
You're wrong, Jay.
Listen to me on this. Here's my thinking on it. Every once in a while, I'll think about that cut to black and how jarring it was when you were watching it. And imagine yourself, if that is the afterlife, if that is the end, if you are one day sitting at a diner with your kids eating onion rings, and the next day or the next millisecond, it's blackness, there is nothing more unsettling than that. It's the most horrific ending in the most.
Well, you're a moron.
I'm telling you,
I don't like your ending on the Lifetime movies. How's that?
I'm gonna end the Lifetime movie the same way, and I'll be fired from Lifetime immediately for trying to do that. So I just want to run through the top 5 here. They said The Leftovers, Book of Nora. I never watched The Leftovers, so I would move up 30 from The Wire into that because I didn't watch it. Felina, Breaking Bad feels low to me, but I mean 4 is fine. Person to Person, Mad Men, one of the greatest endings of all time. Closing out with I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke. You want to talk about a show staying true to its characters. His epiphany was a commercial. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yes.
Always Friday Night Lights. That seems way high to me.
It was good.
It's good, but I would move the Shield into that number 2 spot.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. No.
Made in America, number 1. Perfect.
I don't think, Rhea, let's break off this podcast.
We're doing our own.
I don't think I have enough respect for this guy anymore.
You know what? You find us in the comments. You tell me who you side with. I'll put a poll up. Angelo and Rhea or me, the correct one on Made in America.
All right, fair enough.
Great list. Check out the Ringer if you can. All right, so moving on here. Let me bring up what we were going to talk about. I got so into what we were talking about, I forgot what we were going to do.
These segues were smooth when we were doing them.
As you know, I was in Iceland last week, and I had the chance to sit and watch some Icelandic television because, you know, Angela, I think you and I are similar. If you were in a hotel room in Iceland, the first thing you would do is flip through all the channels. And one of the things I found interesting is there's only like, I mean, at least at the hotel, maybe it's different if you have like Icelandic cable, but there's only like 1 or 2 channels in the native language there. Most everything is either British, they have a lot of BBC and Channel 4, or they have American TV. They have one channel just called America, which I think is fun, which just runs American TV in English. And, you know, I was talking to my taxi driver, and he said he learned English by watching American TV off the Navy base where my dad was stationed in the 60s. They had the first TV came to Iceland in 67. They had to wait till 67 to get TV. And it broadcast American TV, and everybody learned English there. And it just got me thinking, we talk about British TV on the show. Do you guys ever watch, have you ever watched foreign TV in another language? And if so, what's your best foreign show? Angelo, you're nodding. What's your
I know this with Rhea. The British, while it is our language, you do normally need subtitles.
Yes.
But mine is a no-brainer. By the way, I love French movies. Francois Truffaut is one of my all-time great directors.
Agreed.
Love watched everything he's done. But the one I would recommend is on Netflix, and it's called Rhea. And it is a Danish TV show. It ran for 5 years. And the woman, Rhea, who plays it, is a chain-smoking, loose-moraled, crazy lady who's also a wonderful teacher. If you can... No one in our country would even try this. And they pulled it off for 5 great seasons. I highly recommend Rhea on Netflix. It's all in Danish. You have to watch the subtitles, and it's worth it.
I didn't know you were a Truffaut fan, Angelo. I'm sorry to cut in.
I love Truffaut.
One of my pandemic projects was I went through the French New Wave. So I was just watching,
really?
Yeah, as much as I could consume. I loved all of it. Great stuff. Rhea, I'm sorry. Go on. What were you going to say?
I had a French one as well, and I'm still trying. So I'm going to find the name of it because it was one of the earliest shows I ever watched during the pandemic, and I have been unable to find it because what happened was it's a French detective show that deals with cold cases, or as they call them in Europe, historical cases. Phenomenal for the first season, then they replaced the lead actor. I'm still trying to find it because, like I said, it was like 3 years ago. But I have one, but everybody kind of knows this one because it was dubbed in English. But it is a French show, and it's Lupin. Lupin.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. And they dubbed it so well in English. You can bear, like, I watch, it's funny that you say, Jay, you know, they had like 2 channels in Icelandic. I watch a lot of German shows, a lot of shows from Amsterdam where they do dub them, and the dubbing is so horrible that it prohibits me from continuing. I've read a lot of authors from that part of the world, and I'd like to see their movies, you know, made, but the dubbing's so bad. The dubbing in Lupin is phenomenal. It's absolutely one of the best shows I've ever seen.
So I'm going to give one that, again, covers sports. I was going to say Squid Games because I watched that with my son. He's a big Korean TV fan. Netflix has a ton of Korean TV, but I want to go with one that's a little lesser known. There's a show on HBO called Bear Town. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's a Swedish hockey show. It's about a big-time coach who takes a job coaching a small semi-pro hockey team in a small town in Sweden. And it becomes a drama about a rape that occurs.
Oh God!
Yeah, it's in the first episode and the fallout from that. But it's a Swedish language show. It's on HBO. It is intense, but very good drama, and it's all in Swedish, which I enjoy listening to. The northern languages, I think, are a lot of fun. You know, they're kind of smushy mouth, but they're interesting. Okay, so speaking of languages that are hard to understand, English for English people, what do you got for us on British Corner, Rhea?
So you were off the last 2 weeks, and I have reviewed The Missing, which was one of the earlier shows I watched during the pandemic, and it's with this character detective Julian Baptiste, and I loved it. Loved the first season as well, but I did like the second one. But they did a spin-off now that is on Prime via my PBS subscription. So I think you can get it if you're on Prime, but I also subscribe to PBS, so I can have it. So what they did is the writers didn't want to continue with the character Julian Baptiste, but people loved him. So I'm assuming it's not the same writers, because I did not like this as much. It's called Baptiste, on, like I said, on Prime. It's 2 seasons, 8 episodes each. Here's the shocking thing. I didn't think it was as good. I thought it was a bit of a letdown, but it got an 83% critic review on Rotten Tomatoes, 74 by audience. Basically what it is Julian Baptiste, the detective, is now retired, but he's asked to help find, he lives in Amsterdam with his wife, and his daughter's there with her baby and her husband. He's asked to help find a sex worker who's disappeared from the red light district in Amsterdam by her uncle. By the end of the first episode, not is all what it seems, but here's the problem is, it's splintered off into way too many things. You've got the Romanian gang. You've got the uncle, might not be the uncle. You got an old guy with money. You got a woman who's got pictures of it. Just every time I was starting to write notes down, because I thought, okay, I don't know where this is going. One of the biggest twists, I want to say, in the third or fourth episode, I guessed about the character the minute I met the character. I went, oh, well, I know this, you know, and it was supposed to be this real big twist. So it was a bit of a letdown to me. Just like way too many threads. Now there is a second season. I'm going to try it because, like I had mentioned to Angelo, The Missing, which this is a spinoff of, loved season 2, did not like season 1. So right. I didn't like it, but it got a really good review on Rotten Tomatoes. So maybe people will like it better than I did.
Cool.
It's when you only have 8 episodes like that, it is easier to go like the second season works. So just wait till you get the second season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because one of the problems with Succession, and I think you'll find this, Angelo, is when you do the rewatch, it doesn't really become the Succession that you know until episode 6. The first 5 are great, but when you tell people, watch this, the first 5 hours aren't as good. But once you hit the 6th hour, it starts to sing. People go, I'm out. I can't spend 5 hours watching this.
That was me.
Yeah, I already started the binge. I saw the first 2, and I could not stand it, and I love it. So I know I'm in, and I know the characters, and it's kind of cool to know how it ended too.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I'm fully on board, and you're right though. Takes a while sometimes to catch on.
Yeah. So Rhea, what do you have for Teen Corner this week?
So I'm going to be very honest. This is for upper teens. Like your son, if your son watched Succession, he's probably fine with watching this. Yeah. Clark says to me on Saturday, we're down the shore. He goes, hey, I saw something fun on Netflix. Can we watch it? Fubar. So, Angelo, do you know what Fubar means?
No, but I've seen it on the homepage.
Okay, it's a military term for act up beyond all recognition.
Oh,
okay. So that's what Fubar is. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people.
Oh.
And it really steals from True Lies, you know, which is his most famous movie. With was it Jane Curtis or
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So basically, he is a CIA agent who it's on Netflix. It's 8 episodes. Clark and I are on the 7th episode. He's a CIA agent on his last mission. He's retiring. It's fun. It's all kinds of, you know, he's killing the bad guys, and he gets back, and they announce that he has to do one more mission. Now, I don't want to give it away why he do this mission. It's revealed very early on in the.
It's in the trailer, so I think you're okay to say.
Okay, so basically, he has to go. Yeah, you're right. He has to go back for the next mission because, unbeknownst to him, his daughter is also in the CIA. and she's in a bad situation in like, some South American country. He's got to go save her. But the problem is he's been divorced from his wife for 15 years because of the CIA. So he's trying to win her back. The critics hated it. They gave it 49%. The audience liked it. Clark and I laughed for the first 4 episodes because it was so silly, so ridiculous. But there's 2 characters in it. We love it. Alden and Rue. They're 2 CIA agents. One guy's really great looking. The other woman's quite a large gay CIA agent. Love her. It's nothing too deep. It's nothing amusing. I will say, episode 6, Clark and I ran into about a 15-minute really dark period, which disappointed me because the first 5 episodes, there was some sexual innuendo. And whenever it got to where Clark couldn't take it, he walked into the kitchen. This was a little too darkly violent for what the whole show was about. So I would say if you're going to watch it with your upper teens, be careful about episode 6. You might want to watch it yourself first and determine if you want your kids to watch it.
Cool, sounds good.
All right, Angelo, what is your show this week?
I know we're running a little long here, so I'll make it quick. I promoted this last week. I was excited to see it because I was literally on the lot when they were filming it, and I dined out Rose Byrne while I was in the tram. I yelled out, "Oh my God, it's Rose Byrne!" And everybody looked and she ducked her head. The name of the show is Platonic. It stars Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen. They were in a movie together, very successful movie, Neighbors. It's good. It's not great. The reason it's not great is when they booked Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, they knew they had instant chemistry because they were so good in that movie, and they didn't really write it that much. They are relying totally on the chemistry. And the chemistry is so good that you still want to watch it, but it's not great. It's just good. I'll recommend it, but it's not as good as I would have hoped it was. But I need a minute here so to warn people. And again, Jay Black has done everything he can to warn you about David Zaslav, who runs HBO Max, now Max. He is a hack, all right? And if you go to Max right now, the brand new rebranded Max, the thing on the homepage, the thing they want you to watch is called Jared from Subway Catching a Monster.
No.
It's a documentary, all right? And I'm interested in it because he was a very, very prominent pitch man 100%. A decade ago. And then he got caught in this horrible pedophile case, and he was sent away to federal prison for 15 years. And I wanted to see it. They managed in this show. He is a contemptible jerk. He gets involved with a corrupt and insane human being. And there's a hero. And her name is, I got it out, Rochelle Herman, all right? Rhea, this woman, she risked her life, she ruined her life to entrap him. She should be a hero. She's also a top radio personality in Florida. That's when I should have gotten worried because she's so over-dramatic. By the middle of the second episode, there's 3 episodes, each about 45 minutes. My wife and I turned to each other last night and we said, I hate Jared Fogle. He's corrupt and outrageous. I think I hate this woman as much as him. It's so off-putting. And the thing is, so I looked it up today, Jay, to find out who produced this documentary because it's on Max. Yeah. HBO did some of the greatest documentaries of the last generation.
Yeah.
Produced and directed by Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
The very place where David Zaslav cut his teeth. He now runs it. He makes $40 million a year.
Oh, don't tell me that.
That man is single-handedly ruining HBO. And this documentary is proof of it. It's garbage. Rhea, every 5 minutes, they stop the documentary to put on the screen. This is very horrible, what you're watching. Be careful. One of those things. Every 5 minutes for 3 episodes.
Once you determine what the title and subject matter is, you know it's horrible.
Right. You don't have to tell me every 5. Jay, it's bad, and it made me think even less of David Zaslav, who runs HBO, than you.
Well, that's a hard thing to do because, I'll say this. We talk about branding a lot, and you want to talk about brand dilution. you have one shot to keep your brand together. If I click on an HBO documentary, I expect a certain level of competence.
Exactly.
I click on a documentary, and then you realize afterwards that it's Discovery. 99.9% of the people aren't going to look up like you did. They're just going to go, "Oh, HBO documentaries suck now," because Zaslav doesn't know what he's doing.
It's so, I can't tell you how bad it is. It's worse than you could imagine, but don't watch it to prove me right. I don't want you to watch it. It's gross.
Before we get out of here, I just want to talk about one last thing. I don't know if you guys saw, I sent you, there's a new company called Telly. I'm going to touch on this super briefly. If you guys haven't seen it, it is a 50-inch TV, has a sound bar underneath it. Connected to the sound bar underneath that is a smaller strip display. It looks like the bottom third, where they run scores and stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea behind this is it's from the guy who started Pluto TV. Some of you might be watching Pluto. Completely free. You don't pay for the TV. But in order to get the TV, you have to agree to have ads running in that second display at all times. So it's basically a $400 TV you get for free in exchange for your ads. Is this something you would ever put in your home? Yes or no, Rhea Hughes?
I read the whole story, and down in the fine print, they have a camera and a thing that will record everything you look at, everything you watch. It's basically kind of like a Big Brother situation. If you don't agree to it, you have to pay for the TV. So that's an absolute no for me.
Yeah, a no for me too, for a simple reason. We've already seen this on lots of sports events now where they split the screen, golf tournaments, basketball now does it, some Major League Baseball. Who's ever watching the ad side of the screen? Is anyone ever saying, I'm not going to watch this key moment in the game because I want to see what they're pitching me? No, it's a dumb thing. I don't even know why they think anybody would want that. I mean, they want the free TV. But you're not going to read the ads. You're not going to read them.
So here's my suggestion. This is the perfect gift for someone you don't like.
Yeah.
You say, hey, I got you a TV. It's totally, here you go. And then they get observed for the rest of their life. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Angelo, you want to do the recap?
Let me recap. We had a lot of them today. Succession. Awesome. Start from the beginning. It's worth it. It's on Max. Sopranos, if you want to see the horrible ending endorsed by Jay Black, go to Max. It's all right there for you. Rhea is highly recommending Lupin on Netflix. I am recommending Rita on Netflix. Beer Town is on Max right now. Batiste is on Prime. Fubar has Netflix. Platonic is on Apple Plus. And Jared from Fogel, don't watch it. I'm not telling you where it is. It's bad. It stinks.
Guys, thank you so much for holding down the fort, and I'm glad to be back. Great week. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us. Please tell a friend, and we'll see you next week.